So, as I mentioned, my name's Dan Hayes, and with the help of expert guidance from our guest presenter, we're going to hope that we can answer as many of the questions we can for you. I'm the development executive at Aspire. I've worked with the company for around 8 years, and I've worked in the sector itself for over 11 years, from delivering physical active learning programs in schools to supporting schools, utilising the apprenticeship levy, creating the West Midlands P School Sport Conference, and lately building and developing the Aspire Ed on-demand CPD platform, along with my team here at Aspire. I'll pass over to Caroline to introduce herself shortly, as Caroline has a breadth of experience and knowledge that I just can't sum up, if I'm completely honest. If you've not heard of the Primary School P Scorecard, it's a free baselining tool, 40 quick-fire questions, yes, no, don't know questions. I'll put the link in the chat throughout the webinar. It takes 5 minutes to complete, and you get an immediate report against the 5 key indicators from the DFE of how your PE, school sport and physical activity is doing, just to help you benchmark. And like I said, I hope you've got a nice warm drink and you're ready, and I'll pass you over to Caroline to properly introduce everything.
Thanks, Dan. Hopefully you can see me. I have started my video now and you can see the screen. So what we're going to do is, I'll introduce myself in a minute, but I'll just take you through what we're going to do in this webinar. So I'm going to take you through 10 ways on how to improve school wellbeing, but those 10 ways are wrapped up in a wellbeing approach that you can take back, and a wellbeing strategy that you can take back to your school. I'll also be signposting some key health and wellbeing resources throughout, and give you plenty of information on how you can build a really good wellbeing strategy for your school. So in terms of my experience, I used to be a PE teacher and assistant head for 10 years at South Bromsgrove High School. I left around about 6 years ago now to set up my own corporate health and wellbeing business. Whilst I was teaching, I was fortunate enough to win the Sunday Times PE Teacher of the Year Award in 2009. What that did is that led me on to becoming an ambassador for the Kelly Holmes Trust, and also for having a key part in the London 2012 Olympics. So I am the author behind all of the Get Set resources, along with plenty of other health and wellbeing resources for big corporate clients, so Nuffield Health and various others. So I've been a writer now in terms of health and wellbeing for over 10 years. So I've got a lot of experience in that. And also with my company, I have a lot of experience with delivering health and wellbeing programs to schools, to universities, and to corporate clients. So for staff wellbeing as well. So I'm going to take you through what has worked, what hasn't worked, and the best way to approach it in your school. As Dan said, feel free to put any questions you have to me in the chat, but also you'll have an opportunity at the end to for me to answer any questions that you have. So let's just have a look at the value then. And Dan's already mentioned part of this. So there's a huge value behind health and wellbeing, more so at the moment with lockdown, with COVID and everything like that. But we know that, obesity is a problem. Now, there were some stats out the other day that actually showed that people have been worried that children are less active now in lockdown than they have been previously. We know that there's a third of 2 to 15-year-olds overweight. We know that 1 in 4 young people are experiencing suicidal thoughts. Self-harm is absolutely huge, especially for young people, and there's a huge number of counselling sessions, and Childline are inundated every single week with many calls. So I want you to use this time now just to think about what you're doing in your school in terms of health and wellbeing, and just picking a couple of things that you're going to take away from today that really resonate with you, that you can change back in your school. So the first thing that you need to understand is what well-being means to young people, because what well-being means to me is completely different to what it means to you. So to me, it's about, eating healthily, being active. I know that if I don't get my run in at the moment, probably 4 or 5 times a week, then I'll be more stressed. So that's a really important part for me. But for other people, it might be having that relaxation time. It might be eating well. It might be having time to read a book. And this is the same for young people. So actually what health and wellbeing means to your young people in your schools can be very different. And it can be different in whatever school that you're in. So not every 6, 7, 8-year-old is going to be the same. If you're in an inner city school, in that kind of environment, it's going to be very different to a rural school. So you need to appreciate there's there's a variety of different meanings to health and wellbeing. Now, this quote here suggests that positive well-being to children actually means them feeling happy and feeling that their life is going well and they're able to cope with their daily lives. And in my world, I believe that actually well-being and learning cannot be separated, because you need, if you've got happy children, they're going to learn better at school. If they're unhappy, they're not going to be so productive. So it's paramount that you actually focus on helping young people feel happy, feel positive, so they can cope with their daily lives. I'm going to take you through how to build a school-wide wellbeing strategy. But before we do that, we've got a quick poll just for you to find out actually how many of you have got a wellbeing strategy in place at the moment. So this poll should be coming up. So most of you are saying at the moment, some of you have got a wellbeing strategy, some of you don't have anything in place. Most of you then have got an ad hoc wellbeing activities but no strategy, and a couple of you maybe have a policy. So biggest result there then is that most of you got ad hoc activities but no strategy. So that's going to be simple to achieve. Once you go through today, then I will help you pull your activities together so it's in a strategy, and there's some really simple things that you can do. Okay, so the first thing you can do is it's about engaging with your whole school community. So in terms of wellbeing, it's not just about thinking, oh, we're putting on this for our pupils. It's about looking at all of your community. That involves your parents and carers, your staff, and your pupils. If you're doing wellbeing, you might as well look at it as a whole concept. You'll have staff training to do. You want to also put in maybe a staff wellbeing program. You then need to support your parents and carers so they've got the right information about eating healthily, about exercise, about mental health, so then they can support their pupils, their children, as well as your program that you're delivering across the school. The first thing that you need to do is set up a wellbeing committee. And it might be that you're already doing this, but you've not formally called it a committee. So I suggest that you set up a wellbeing committee in your school. You want somebody senior to sign it off. That might be you, that might be somebody else. I would then have maybe some members of staff who've got a keen interest in health and wellbeing. Doesn't matter what their role is. You might want some people from your governors or parent teachers association. You then might want some pupils. You might already have wellbeing champions, playground leaders, or various councils set up. You don't have to set anything new up, but you might just want to pull a couple of your pupils in to be part of your wellbeing committee. I would then also think about who you liaise with. So whether you have counsellors coming in on site, whether you work with charities that support you with wellbeing or counselling services, whether you have Senko, whether you have people who are, really interested in wellbeing. So I would think about who you want as your committee. It doesn't have to be big, it can only be a few people. But wellbeing is not a one-person job. It's going to take a few of you in your school to run it effectively. So the more people you have in this, the better it's going to be. Plus, you've got more people to consult and to help shape your wellbeing programme. So another quick poll then is to actually find out if you've got a wellbeing lead at your school. So we'll just wait for the poll to come on the screen. So do you have a designated wellbeing lead in your school? It might be yes, we do, no, we don't. It might be that staff deliver different parts, but no one oversees it, or yes, we have a wellbeing committee. 7 of you have got a wellbeing lead, 5 of you haven't. So the 5 that haven't might be something you want to consider. Staff deliver different parts, but no one oversees it. So again, that's another 5. And then 1 of you has a wellbeing committee. So again, for those of you that haven't, or you've got staff delivering different parts, but no one's overseeing, the wellbeing committee is going to be perfect for you to get you going. Okay, so this is how to deliver a whole school wellbeing approach. Now, this is tried and tested. This has worked for every single organisation that I've worked in. If you want, you don't have to do every part of it. You might just pick a couple of things on here that you think, okay, we're going to go with this, we're going to go with this. Some of you might go, we're going to do all of it, but it's about what works for your school. So don't suddenly think, oh my gosh, I don't have the time to do all of this. Just pick a couple of things that you think will work for you. The first thing is consulting. So this is about consulting with your audience. So you need to find out what your pupils need in terms of health and wellbeing. So it might be that you ask your year 5s and 6s in terms of health and wellbeing, what kind of support they want. Are they interested in healthy eating? Is it exercise? Is it actually help with worries or anxieties? So you might want to do a little survey, you might want to do some focus groups just to get some feedback about what wellbeing means to them as well. So you don't have to ask them direct questions about what they want, but just have that conversation just to get some information out of them about maybe what they currently know in terms of health and wellbeing, so that will help you identify some gaps about what you can build on. Now, this consult phase is about a fact find. It's looking at what you have on offer at the moment. So I would write down what you are delivering across your school. So that might be speaking to other members of staff, that might be looking at your curriculum, it might be looking at your PSHE time and mapping out, you know, whether you have breakfast clubs, lunchtime clubs, extracurricular, how many hours of PE they do, and look at where you're delivering wellbeing at the moment. Map it out, then you can see where any gaps are. I would also talk to parents and find out, and it doesn't have to be, you know, an onerous task, but it could just be, you know, when you're emailing out to them or on social media or at a parent-teacher association meeting, it might be that you just ask a couple of questions about what support they would like. You know, do they want support with helping manage their children's anxieties? Or is it the fact that actually they want to know how they can keep fit or how they can cook better on a budget? So it's about finding out what your parents want. And then it's also about your staff. So understanding what your staff requirements, what do they want support and help with. And by doing this, you're getting buy-in. You're getting buy-in from your pupils, from your staff, from your parents, because they are automatically feeling like they've got a voice and that you're caring for them. In this consult phase, have a look at whether you've got any funding for this. There are lots of different funding streams that you can access. And this is probably one of the biggest blockers to delivering health and wellbeing, is that schools say, we don't have the budget, we don't have any money. Well, a few answers for you. One, awards for all. They're open again now. You can apply for up to £10,000 for an awards for all grant to deliver health and wellbeing programme in your school across your community, local community. Have a look at that. Go on your local community sport partnership website, your local CSP. They will have local grants that you can tap into. And I know that the schools around here have been tapping into kind of COVID grants, and they're giving out grants quite quickly because we're still in that stage. So it might be that you might be able to get £1,000, £2,000, £3,000. Local businesses. When I was working and teaching in school, I wrote off to loads of local businesses, and I ended up getting, you know, about £5,000 from different companies who are willing to support our health and wellbeing programme, and then you stick their logo on any kind of social media that you're doing. So that's another thing to have a look at. And if you've got your wellbeing committee set up, then this is where you can distribute different jobs to the people that are in your committee. So don't think that funding or not having any money stops you from delivering a wellbeing programme, because it doesn't. Another way that you can do it, another quick tip, is actually using your parents at the moment. So you will have a community in your school, you'll have lots of different parents. Now, it's worth writing to them in an email, on social media, and just saying, we're running a health and wellbeing programme. Is anyone willing to deliver a session? You might have people that are nutritionists, you might have people who are yoga specialists, you might have people who could deliver financial wellbeing sessions to your staff. So I know that some schools have actually put information like that out, and then they've covered almost a whole year, because they've got something every month for free from their parents, from their local community, who are willing to do one thing. So think about that one as well, because that's really good. So during this consult phase then, it's the fact find, it's the initial setup of your wellbeing strategy. So it's probably where the most amount of time is going to be spent. So this is where you want to benchmark your current wellbeing status, really. So finding out the information from your staff, from your pupils, and from your parents. So running focus groups, surveys, interviews. I've got example surveys as well that you can have. So the next phase then is to create and support. So this is about looking at your delivery options. So in terms of where health and wellbeing sits and fits across the school day, it can fit in many different places. It could be a breakfast club, it could be lunchtime, it could be after school activities. It can be PE lessons, it can be part of the extracurricular activities, it can be PSHE or citizenship or any tutor time. It could be that you run parent sessions, family sessions. It could be that you get external companies in and you have wellbeing days, one-off mornings, one-off afternoons. So there's lots of different things you can do. You could also create a whole school challenge, which is a virtual challenge. or a photo challenge, or an activity step walking challenge that goes on across a half term or a term. So it's about thinking what works for you, what do you currently offer, and what do you think is going to be the best kind of delivery method and for your school. So what I'd like you to do now is we're going to talk about some health and wellbeing programs. So we're going to actually look at what kinds of things are being run at the moment in your school. So this is where I want you to use the chat function, and I'd like you to just get typing and write in anything that works really, really well in your school. I know that you've been in lockdown, maybe think before lockdown, or some really good lockdown ideas are always good as well, but think about what has been really effective in your school in terms of delivering health and wellbeing. If you can write it in the chat now, I can read some of those out and then I can share with you some ideas that I've got. Excellent. So guided meditation, we've got in first. Breakfast clubs. Mini-me yoga, yeah. Whole school mindfulness. Talking trees, think good, feel good. Healthy eating workshops, brilliant. Okay, yep, using your insurance, that's always a good one. Using your insurance provider for your staff wellbeing. Healthy lunchbox workshops, nice. Use of, is it Zoomos? Okay, wellbeing sessions for staff, CPD, good. Intervention groups for mindfulness, that's popular then. Lunchtime activities, Sparkles wellbeing, parents groups. Yeah, cosmic yoga, that's a popular one. Okay, so it looks like we're quite an active group in terms of what you're delivering at the moment, which is brilliant. So what I'll do now then is I'll share some ideas about what you can do. I'm just having now 30-day challenge, that looks good. So in terms of strategies, the best and the quickest one is in terms of a strategy idea. It's not actually an activity, but it's to have a wellbeing brand name. If you have a name for your wellbeing program, then everything goes under that brand name. So you could put it out as a competition to school for the kids to design a logo for it. And then you put that on every single correspondence. It's on assemblies that you do for health and wellbeing. It's part of your PE lessons. It's part of your extracurricular. Then what that does is that starts to make it health and wellbeing explicit across your school and also your community. Staff will associate it with a wellbeing program, pupils will, and also your parents will. So any correspondence, any flyers, any information, videos you're creating, anything that goes out to parents, if it has the wellbeing logo on it, they know it's part of the wellbeing program. This will help in terms of if you're doing ad hoc wellbeing activities, this is a quick, simple fix to bring them together in one kind of program by putting a brand name on it, and it works really well. Other strategies are delivering mental health first aid training. You can do this through the MHFA, which is the accredited body, or you can have bespoke mental health training for staff. They do half day, 1 day, 2 days. We've already mentioned having a wellbeing committee. Wellbeing champions is really key. So I know that you might have lunchtime leaders or other kind of different ambassadors. I highly recommend training wellbeing champions. We can deliver training for you if you want it. And that means that they are going to help shape your program as well and help deliver it and help lead on it. Mental health support is always key for young people and especially for your staff. You could look at running wellbeing assemblies, running drop-down days and weeks, having wellbeing logbooks. Some schools have had, which are on a half-termly basis, and pupils have to track things like the amount of water they drink and how much activity they do. I know that a lot of schools do active miles, parent and family sessions. They might have food ambassadors. Resilience has been that buzzword around for quite a few years now, and I know that some schools are running particular programs or projects around resilience for target groups. Have a wellbeing calendar for your school. So the best thing to do is to look at all the health and wellbeing awareness days. And again, we can send you this. You don't need to create it yourself. But every single month, there are different health and wellbeing days campaigns. And so you'll have Children's Mental Health Week. You'll have Mental Health Week in May. You'll have Nutrition and Hydration Week. Now, all of these campaigns create resources. So you don't need to create anything new. You can just go onto that campaign day on the internet. You can click download and you will have posters, resources, activity ideas, maybe videos that you can show in assemblies. So it's about looking at your wellbeing calendar, being strategic and thinking ahead to your next kind of half term and term and going, okay, we want to support Healthy Heart Day. We want to support Nutrition and Hydration Week. Then have a look on the internet, download resources and work out how you're going to deliver it. So think about having a wellbeing calendar and also using the campaign days for that to be a focus for wellbeing across your school. Other things you can do are whole school challenges. You can do team building, celebrations, couch 5K. Some schools have a school dog. Some schools have breakout rooms, chill out rooms. And then in terms of lockdown ideas, I know that you've been moving out of that now, but it might be that you still want to carry on that kind of virtual link with home learning. So I know schools doing wellbeing wake-ups, home activity packs, home fitness challenges, dance montages, talent shows and that kind of thing. Also, if you want some really good resources, go on to this website here, partnershipforchildren.org.uk. What they've got is they've got a number of different resources that you can use in school. And also they're all kind of lockdown related. So it's getting young people, it's getting pupils to do activities on reflecting on their lockdown and celebrating their achievements and creativity. It's really positive. So have a look on partnershipforchildren.org.uk because they've got lots of activities for teachers and that you can use in your school, which are all current and relative to the situation that we're facing at the moment. Let's just have a quick recap here. So if we go back to start with thinking about thinking about your whole community, your staff, your young people, plus your parents. You do the consult part. Or you set up a wellbeing committee first. Then you consult with your audience, but also find out if you've got budget, if you haven't got budget, what your current provision is, where the gaps are. So that's the first kind of thing. Then, so that's your consult, then you can create your program. So thinking about what your target areas are. Is it resilience? Is it nutrition? Is it mindset? Is it confidence, happiness? What is it that you want to do? Then you create your program. And then you need to think about delivery options. Now, an approach that works is having wellbeing delivered in a number of different ways across your school. The first way then is through PE lessons. That's a given. That's part of physical activity. So that will be part of your wellbeing program. The next one will be extracurricular activities. Again, that's open to all young people to attend, and also lunchtime activities. You then will want to have maybe breakfast clubs or other projects or intervention programs for selected young people. So it might be that you want to run a resilience program or a confidence building program for a particular vulnerable group in your school. So you will have something for everybody, which is your PE lessons, maybe PHSE lessons, delivering health and wellbeing through that, and then maybe after school activities. Everybody can access those. Then you want to have something which is whole school. So you've got assemblies where you can deliver health and wellbeing. You might want to do an assembly every half term on a particular health and wellbeing theme or topic. Remember to stick the brand name on it. So, and as well as the assemblies, then you might want to have a whole school challenge. So it could be every half term you decide to run a wellbeing challenge. And it could be that one half term it's to run 5K or walk 5K. So you want everybody to do that. And you could photo challenge. So you could do, I think, mental health this year, Mental Health Week in May this year. The focus is all on the environment. So it could be that actually you do a photo challenge in your school to celebrate Mental Health Week in May. So for the month of May, you want your young people plus your staff plus parents to submit photos of the outdoors, of them getting outside and taking care or enjoying their outside environment. Maybe they're doing gardening, maybe they're going for a walk, maybe they're going for a run. So think about having a whole school challenge that people can access. And then, so you've got, let's have a quick recap on that. You've got wellbeing for everybody, okay, which is the PE lessons, PSHE lessons, after school activities. You've then got your assemblies. You've then got your wellbeing challenge, maybe every half term. And then you've got your bespoke projects for vulnerable children. If you're hitting all of those, then you're going to have a really great, solid wellbeing program in place. Then it's about communication. How are you getting your communication out there? So if you've got notice boards at your school, where can you display information? In classrooms? Are you going to provide any information for parents? Are you going to provide leaflets or a newsletter every month? Are you going to provide little videos? or webinars or staff training. So think about how you can deliver information across your community. So by community, that's pupils, parents and staff. And then it's about engaging people. And this is a kind of recap of what I've mentioned. So engaging people in your program, getting them excited by it, getting them involved in it. And that's where you have your wellbeing committee and champions. So it might be that you want to run some wellbeing training once you've decided on what your wellbeing program looks like. Getting people engaged in your program is doing fun things, okay, and getting excitement. And that's where you need a wellbeing calendar, and you link into the national health campaigns, because they'll all be on, you know, people will be on social media, parents will be looking at different things. If you tap into health and wellbeing campaigns and days, then that will work really, really well. So it might be that you have some cooking challenges, or you have the photo challenge or the walking step challenge, like I mentioned. And then you need to work out your communication plan. So again, it's a bit of a recap, but it's mentioning, do you send text messages out to your parents? Do you send emails? Do you have a social media site? Do you have an intranet? Do you have a website? Where is it that you display information? And just making sure that it's the same information out to your pupils, your staff and your parents, and having that recap and having that consistency and approach. So it might be that 1 month is all about nutrition and hydration. So for that month, you want to send something out for your staff, maybe some top tips and a video that you found. You could then send the same out for your parents, what you want them to try and achieve with their working with families and pupils, and then having something for pupils in school as well on the same theme. So themed sessions with health and wellbeing works really well. And then it's about analysing. So we'll want you to analyse where you are. So this is where you go back to your first consulting phase, and you look at your forums that you've run, you look at the kind of questions that you've been asking your pupils or your parents, because that was your benchmark. Then you can go back and you can compare it. So it might be that at the end of the year, you want to get some more feedback on how things are going. You can look at participation rates in certain clubs or activities, or you can look at feedback from an intervention program that you've run. So this is about gathering data. If you can gather data and information, then you can obviously showcase that your project is working. So here are some example wellbeing resources that you can tap into. We've got mental health first aid, place to be, mentally healthy schools is really good. Charlie Waller Memorial Trust, they're quite good in providing people to come and deliver sessions in your school. The Anna Freud Foundation, that's brilliant in terms of resources. They have so many things for teachers, videos on for teachers. You don't need to reproduce, you can just use them for staff training. They have loads and loads of resources for young people and schools. So I would spend some time on Anna Freud, definitely. If you're thinking about delivering lessons in PSHE time, then go on to Scotland resources and also Northern Ireland. They're often, they publish quite a lot of health and wellbeing resources, which are lessons that you can pick up and deliver, PowerPoints, lesson plans. Also the PSHE Association, they've had lesson plans around for a while. Kidscape is good for young people in terms of anti-bullying. And then you've got a few publishing houses that people don't often know about, but they often produce health and wellbeing resources again. So I would maybe spend some time just having a look through some different examples that you think could be useful. This as well, then we've got a separate platform which is called Livewell, and it is about developing young people, supporting them with health and wellbeing. And we've got 6 different areas. We've got healthy body, healthy lifestyle, healthy mind, healthy me, and we've got personal challenges. So on here, we've got various lessons already built, ready to go in your school. So if you are interested in that, then I think you can email Dan at the end of this, because we're giving schools a big discount, and also you get 2 free places on an MHFA course instead of 1. So if you're interested in that, then you can have a look at that. So to finish off my section then, what I'd like you to do is to think about now where you are in your school. So think, where are you winning? Where are you investing and learning? So this is part of your kind of consult phase, and you're going to have this action plan at the end. Dan will send it to you. Levers, what is available to you in your school, your community, your local area? Who can support you with your wellbeing programs? So that's what I mentioned at the start. Think about your local community, tap into them, utilize them, and then write down any challenges that you think you need to overcome, any hurdles, and how can you address these. So this is the starting point for you to get your wellbeing strategy and program in place. So if I just go over then, before we ask questions, I'll go over the recapping on what we've been through. So first thing, set up a wellbeing committee in your school. Doesn't matter how many people, but you need to make sure that you have a mixture of staff, maybe a couple of parents, get some young people on there as well, and anyone else that you link with who delivers health and wellbeing from outside agencies. So have a wellbeing committee set in place. Then consult with your staff, your pupils and young people, get some benchmark data, do some questionnaires and surveys, find out where you currently are in terms of health and wellbeing, and identify the gaps that you want to improve. Then it's creating your program. So think about the types of topics, whether it's resilience, healthy eating, anxieties, worries, what you want to deliver. Then you need to think about how you're going to deliver it. Is it through interventions, PE, after school, breakfast clubs? Remember what I've said, have something for everybody. So maybe a half-termly challenge, assemblies, PE lessons, after school, and interventions for particular groups. Then you're going to hit everybody. Staff training, really essential to have. Also think about maybe having a policy in place. Think about different funding streams that you can access, and then you need to make sure that you're analysing what you're delivering. So if you're going to go back and do questionnaires or speak to your committee again, just to get some feedback to see how well it's going, if things are working, if they're not working, any feedback you've had from parents with the information that you're giving them, and then see whether you need to change things up a little bit. So hopefully that has been useful in terms of delivering a health and wellbeing strategy within your school. Now, feel free now to ask me any questions before I hand over to Dan to finish a few things off. So it doesn't matter if there isn't. I am used to silencing rooms. It's fine. I've done lots of presentations, and I've a lot of the time there are no questions at the end. But yeah, if you have got any, then go for it.
You were just that good, Caroline. You had...
No, not at all.
Okay, so there's nothing pinging in, so hopefully that's answered a lot of questions for everyone. Just while I'm speaking now, Caroline, please feel free to monitor the chat, and we'll come back to the chat in 2 seconds. So if while I'm speaking now you think, oh, there is a question actually, feel free to fire it into the chat. But I just wanted to go through a couple of things, like Caroline said. This webinar is brought to you by Aspire Ed, which is an on-demand CPD platform. It's high quality PE-CPD, accessible wherever, whenever, however you want, because it's pre-recorded content. For being on the webinar today, you get a 10% discount code. So at the moment, there's a course on there called Embedding a Powerful Physical Curriculum. Courses we're developing are things such as SEND and PE. We're looking at creating a health and wellbeing course. There's also gymnastics course coming up, dance course, early years as well. So more and more being added at the same time, all created by experts such as Crichton Casbon, Helen Batterley, Ryan Bradley, and so on. So take a note of that code. I'll paste the link to the sites that I'm mentioning in a second as well, so you can have a little look around. There's free content on there as well, so use the free content. The next one is the reason we can do these free is because we do actually have a sponsor. So the reason we can deliver so much free content and share so much free content is these are sponsored by the PE Hub. So please have a look at the PE Hub, which is a planning and assessment platform run by qualified teachers, and they want to get the message out to as many people as possible, hence the sponsorship. So there's also a code there called Aspire Pod, which will get you a discount, and I'll put these in the chat. And finally, I mentioned the scorecard previously, and again, this isn't anything that you have to buy into. It's just a free baseline tool for PE, school sport and physical activity. And as Caroline mentioned, with regards to health and wellbeing, getting children physically active and happy and engaged is massive in that. So it goes against the 5 key indicators from the DFE. It takes just 5 minutes to answer 40 quickfire yes, no, don't know questions, and you immediately get an overview report of how you're performing against them. So like you can see on the image on the next slide, you'll be able to see the overview report. You also receive an in-depth PE document, a PDF document, which is about 14 pages long, with guidance and information on how to go about developing these areas from industry bodies such as AFP, YST, and of course the DFE, along with suggestions and resources and programs and tools for you to click through and use if you wish. You'll also have access to the free ebook that's created, The Power of the Physical, a 10-step guide to implementing a physical curriculum in your primary school, which could link into what Caroline's been talking about, which is fantastic. And if you did want more in-depth support and hands-on support, again, completely for free. Once you complete the score check, you can book in a free consultation as well. So you can have that support following your benchmarking. Caroline, if you want to skip on just a couple of slides, there's a summary, and just one more for me. Yeah, there's a summary there just of everything. There's the links there. I'm just about to post them into the chat now. So if you did have any questions with regards to those, then please feel free. But again, whilst we've got Caroline, please do not squander this opportunity.
There's okay, so people have been asking for some surveys, so surveys around staff, parents and pupils. The answer is yes, so I can send them on to Dan and Dan can share them with you. That's not a problem. So that's fine. Are there any resources especially singled out useful for SEN in terms of wellbeing? Not necessarily for SEN that I'm aware of. Sadly, what you probably have to do is look at what wellbeing resources are out there and adapt it. So that's the only thing I can suggest at the moment. By all means, I will have a search to see what is out there for SEN, but I would say that you ideally at the moment need to have a look at it and try and adapt it. Someone's put, is the scorecard free? The scorecard is free, isn't it, Dan?
Yeah, I was literally just about to hit enter.
There we go. That's fine.
It's a benchmarking tool, and so if you want the support and consultation of, okay, great, I've got my report, I've got these tools, what do I do next? It's all free. It's a case of making sure you guys have what you need to benchmark, so you know where you're at and how to move forwards. And like Caroline mentioned before, it's good to then benchmark individual aspects such as health and well-being to really understand and focus in on how to move things forwards and how to put those actions.
Right, if you want any future webinars that you want me to deliver, okay, then fire it in the chat now. So any specific areas in terms of health and well-being that you think would be useful to your school, then stick them in the chat now, then we can take them away, and then Dan and I can facilitate delivering any further webinars to you on those topics. So if there's anything that you think, I really want that support, that would really help me in my school, then stick it in the chat and we can hopefully act on that for you.
Brilliant. Thank you very, very much, Karen, because there's sometimes people go away and have a little think and think it's too specific to have in-depth support. It might be a case we run a really short 20-minute workshop on something really specific that's really focused that can have more of an impact for you. So Sharon, staff wellbeing specific.
And that's so staff wellbeing, mental health and burnout. Do you know what the best one to do for that is to do some resilience training, especially with what people have had to deal with. So we do some really, really good resilience training about, and it's all positive, it's not negative, it's kind of light bulb moment resilience training where people can look at their resources. Some of you might have heard of a resilience donut. It's similar to that in terms of looking at what your staff have got to help them be resilient, whether it's in the workplace, whether it's at home, and it's just some really simple things on what they can do. So I would very much suggest that is going to help in terms of staff well-being, because you face so many different challenges and so many different transitions. It's a period of unsettled unstableness, and so you do need to support your staff at this time, because it's uncertain times and people don't know what's going on, especially with the government changing all the time. So I would very much focus on staff.
Any questions whatsoever, guys? I know sometimes you don't want to air your questions. There's a whole webinar with lots of people, so if you want individual support, it's absolutely fine. If you have any questions whatsoever with anything that Caroline's mentioned today, as I mentioned, there is an action plan that we're going to be sending out following this. We'll also, we'll share any information that we've said that we're going to share throughout the webinar. I've pasted those links into the chat, as well as my email address. So if you did want to set up, if you did want to email me, just ask me a quick question, or if you wanted to set up a quick call to ask any questions about anything Caroline's gone through or anything on the slide at the moment, do not hesitate to contact me, and I'll be happy to help. And like Caroline's mentioned a few times, we've got a good relationship. So if there is any future support you want, please don't hesitate in contacting us, because we'll work together to make sure you get all the help you need. And like we said, all these webinars are free, so we want to help you guys as much as possible. Last opportunity to ask any questions at all before we say goodbye. I know everyone's got childcare concerns, and I know Karen shoot as well. So very last opportunity. But if there aren't any, thank you so much for joining us. I do want to say a big thank you to Caroline for sharing huge pearls of wisdom and condensing it into such a short period of time. Thank you so much, Caroline. I know it's been valuable, and I hope we've been able to answer as many questions as possible for you guys that have attended today.
Oh, that's great. Thank you, everybody, for coming, and we hope to hear from you soon.